Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. And as you can see, I'm definitely not in the workshop, I'm in the Caribbean today. Loads of people have been making videos about KTM and the debacle that's currently unfolding, and I thought I would just make a short video on my take on all of this. For some people that may not realise this, KTM is a very, very old, well-established company. I mean, it was formed 90 years ago in 1934. And it was reasonably successful. I mean, it was a niche player in bikes that had a small market, and they were basically a boutique motorcycle manufacturer. In 2013, the group bought Husqvarna. Now, of course, Husqvarna has a very, very old, a very long history. You know, I mean, they've been around since, I can't remember the exact date, but it's hundreds of years when they used to make swords. Anyway, I mean, obviously they don't make swords anymore, or presumably they don't. There's not a lot of market for swords these days. But you know, Husqvarna was a very well-established brand that had a very, very good name. And there was nothing fundamentally wrong with KTM joining up with Husqvarna. The mistakes they've made, I'll come to shortly. In 2017, of course, KTM linked up with Red Bull in MotoGP. And anyone that knows anything about MotoGP or F1 or any motor racing full stop, it's basically a money pit. And unless you have got endless funds to just pour into it with no regard for anything else really, then it's a great idea. A lot of MotoGP F1 things are to some degree vanity projects, and if you have the money it's fine, but if you're relying on sales of a product to support this, it's not fine, and you shouldn't go anywhere near it. I think the idea of win on Sunday, sell on Monday is long gone. I mean, if KTM won a MotoGP, cup, I wouldn't be thinking, oh, I must buy a KTM. I just wouldn't. I think people's loyalties towards brands goes way deeper than win on Sunday, sell on Monday mentality. So, in 2019, of course, KTM took over Gas. Now we're starting to get to the reason why I think part of the reason why I think they are failing. And just as an example, I mean, I used to have a Gas SM700, which I chopped in for my Husqvarna 701. Now, there are slight differences between the two, but fundamentally they are the same bike. The 701 is the same bike as the Gas 700, which is the same bike as the KTM 690. So if you've got a product range, albeit limited, I mean, we've got to remember that motorcycle manufacturing numbers, although they might be big to the company, they're not big. You know, I mean, Volkswagen, Audi Group or Toyota, they sell tens of millions of cars every year. KTM, I think in 23 they sold something like 360,000. I mean, these are tiny numbers in terms of vehicle production when you look on the global scene. And so therefore, to have three, and I'm just using the 690 as an example, there are others, you know, when you start looking into it. You know, if you've got one bike which you're going to brand as KTM, which you're going to brand as Gas, which you're going to brand as Husqvarna, why would you do that? Why would you think, oh, if we have three of them, we can sell three times as many? I mean, it doesn't work like that. You know, there's going to be people that have loyalty towards KTM, that have loyalty towards Gas and Husqvarna, etc. But they're not going to buy all three. So the idea that you're going to sell more bikes just because you wrap them in a different wrapper is madness. It's corporate madness, and to some degree, and I've been, you know, I as a businessman, you know, I'm interested in how companies function, how they operate, and in my career, I've been a change manager where I've been involved with failing companies or failing businesses, and it's my job to turn it round. And I've always found, and the exact words I struggle with, but there's always been an element of arrogance, and I use that word guardedly. It's almost like an unshakable certainty that we will do well. And there is no certainty in business, or almost none. You can be certain of some things, but there is so much that is out in this global marketplace that we all operate in. There is so much that you have no control over. I mean, who controls interest rates? It sure as hell isn't your business. So when you could borrow money for almost nothing, that was a great time to borrow. Well, you know, when the rates go up, you're a bit knackered. So product differentiation is, in my view, a big problem. And I think this sort of unshakable certainty, brackets, arrogance, has not helped with the company's perception of where their markets actually lie. If we look at numbers, I mean, there are lots of companies out there that will overstretch themselves. Lots of companies that have failed because they have overstretched themselves. There are companies that have overstretched themselves and it's worked. They've gone on to big and better things. But in 2023, KTM made 100 million euros profit, which probably sounds like a lot of money, but it's not. If they have, according to sources that are readily available out there, they have around 3 billion euros of debt. Now, just to give you an example, I mean, if you converted a euro into a time factor, if you made €1 a second, is that right? €1 a second, you would have 3 years of 100 million is 3 years. 3 billion is 95 years. So the different, I can envisage 3 years. I can almost envisage 95 years, but the two are miles apart. The idea that you think you can service 3 billion of debt with profits of 100 million is ludicrous, absolutely ludicrous. So. KTM have said, I'm just checking my notes by the way, because I am on holiday at the moment. KTM have said in a statement that they are going to realign their production numbers with market conditions. Now, they should have been doing that constantly. You are constantly looking at your market to see whether or not your production is meeting those demands. And the thing is, this is where the whole thing has started to unravel. Because any business will only have a successful model if they have a product people want to buy and the people buying it have confidence in the product. Now, you know as well as I do that confidence in a company and its products takes a long time to generate. It can take years, but it can be destroyed in a moment. And any company, whether you're selling shoelaces or BMWs or Bentley Continentals, any company will be judged on how it deals with things when they go wrong. When everything's fine, if you've got a product that is attractive to the market, that is completely reliable, that is priced according to the market, that people want to buy, you don't have a problem. If you have a similar product, but it is not reliable, the company's reputation will be determined by how you deal with the problem. When things are running smoothly, you don't need to worry. You don't need to worry because the product is reliable, customers are happy, everything's fine. It's when it goes wrong, when how you deal with things when they go wrong is what is going to pull the plug on whatever reputation you have. And that, to a very large degree, is exactly what's happened with KTM. They quite obviously have a problem with the 790 and 890 engines, however much they want to admit it. According to KTM, it affects only 300 bikes. I find that difficult to believe, given the amount of noise, and I accept the fact that I'm sure there are keyboard warriors out there whose mate of a mate of a mate of a mate might have had a problem. But I don't believe that it is limited to 300 bikes. I don't see how the Facebook group that was set up about these camshaft issues would have gained such momentum if there were only 300. And bearing in mind, we're talking 300 globally. You know, we're not just talking about Swindon. So I'm not sure I believe that. And the thing is, if you put out a statement that people don't believe, you're further eroding people's confidence in the company and its products. So stop putting out stupid statements. You know. So within all of this situation, I am sure KTM are going to go bust. And there are going to be vultures out there, and I don't mean vultures in a bad way. Vultures are good. Apart from being magnificent birds, vultures are good because they clear up the mess. And there are going to be lots of vultures currently circling KTM because, let's face it, KTM has been successful, innovative. They have had good products. They you know, when the LC4 engine, which is in my Husqvarna, first came out, you know, in 2000 and whatever it was, 11, and there were problems, but they solved them. And now you've got a very reliable engine by and large. But the vultures are going to be circling, and they're going to be looking at pieces of the business that they want to pick up, and they're going to wait till it goes belly up, and then they're going to come in, take the bits they want, and they'll make them successful again. So anyone that thinks that KTM will survive, I think you're being unbelievably generous in your confidence. But I do think the company will survive in a different guise. People will take the bits that are really good about KTM, and creditors no doubt will lose a fortune. You know, if you've got 3 billion of debt, nobody is going to take on that debt with only 100 million of profit, which of course this year is projected to be a 3-digit million loss. So that 3 billion is going to go north. So that is my take on the KTM thing. Obviously, things will unfold over the coming weeks and months, and we'll see whether I was right or not. Having turned around businesses, I can sort of see writing on the wall. So we shall see. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed my little ramble in the Caribbean about the KTM issue, and I shall see you again in the workshop shortly. So, bye for now.